What's up guys, it's your boy FPL Advice, back with another banger of a video. Now in this video we're going to talk about the decisions that I'm going to make in Gameweek 5. Now Gameweek 4 was a brilliant game week for us, but we can't just rest. Getting myself in top 20k was a great week. But talking about Gameweek 5, I have some issues that I need to sort out. And one of those issues is Rico Lewis. He is a great player and he is one of those players that can get you attacking returns from defensive game or defensive plays. But I think he is a bit of a rotation risk going into game against Arsenal. I think City will want to be a little bit more solid in the defense, and Walker is one of those players that's really solid in the defense. So I really think Rico Lewis will be rotated for Walker this week at least, and I have two transfer targets to replace Rico Lewis. Both are Aston Villa's assets. Yes, they have not been good in defense particularly, but I still think Aston Villa has one of the best fixtures and they can get clean sheets in these games. Now one of those players that I am targeting is Digne. He is the best posit option in defense, just full stop, and he is great in attack as well. He did get attacking return in last game. There was a great assist to Watkins, so yeah, I think Digne is a great player that you can target. Now another transfer target that I have gone for is Konza. He too is a great player, but if Digne ends up playing for Champions League, then I think I will just get Konza and get rid of headache about rotation and all, because I still think Digne is a bit of a risk rotation wise. Madsen right behind him is really good player. So yeah, those are the transfers that I might make going into Game Week 5. Now of course there can be some injury issues in Champions League, and if that happens then I will have to sort out those instead. But if that does not happen, then I think one of those two players will be bought in my team. Now there have been a few questions asked to me, and some of them are Saka to Salah for -4. If we are just targeting for Game Week 5, then sure, I think Salah is just the best captaincy option for this game week. He is captain in my team, or captain of my team, and he might score some big points here. And Saka has an extremely difficult game against City. After City, his fixtures improve a lot, but I think if we're just talking about City in general, then I guess Saka is a sell for now. You can always get him back for Game Week 6. Now, was selling Isak a mistake? Well, I don't think so. I did not foresee Isak not I did not foresee Joao Pedro not playing at all, and that was a bit of a headache for me. But I guess at the end of the day, it did well for me, because I had Gabriel as my first substitute and he gave me 15 points return. Would Joao Pedro have given me same amount of return? Unlikely. But him not starting and still having 75% chance of playing, I think it's a little bit risky, but I still believe Joao Pedro is a great bargain for that kind of price. He is on penalties, so that's another thing that we need to think about with Joao Pedro. Now some players for Newcastle are back, and those guys can change FPL all of a sudden, because Tonali is a great player, he is a creative player, and then there's Trippier who came in as a substitute. He is a creative player as well, and all of a sudden Isak not getting enough chances might not be a thing, but I still think he is not worth 8.5 million for now, and I'll rather have the money and spend it elsewhere, like bolster my defense with someone stronger, or even in midfield, maybe get Mboimo in my team in place of some cheap players like Diallo. And then the last question I was asked, should you make a transfer this week? If you have well settled team, no injury issues and all, then I guess you are fine, but there is always a risk of player being rotated in weeks where we have Champions League. So I think you have to consider those things before not making a transfer at all. Now of course there can always be injury issues as well, so I think these kinds of things will have to be kept in your mind. I myself have 2 to 3 rotation risk players. If we consider Jota a rotation risk player, then I have 3 players that are quite rotation risky. Now, if Jota plays in Champions League, he might not play in Premier League. They have Kakpo and Darwin right behind him that can always get goals for Liverpool. The guy has not scored for 2 game weeks consecutively. They have lost against Nottingham Forest, so maybe manager will make some tweaks in that team. So if that's the case, then I think these players will have to be replaced. Having 7.5 million worth player being rotated is never a great chance. And if there is a chance of Jota getting rotated or rested, then I think Mbeumo is the best player you can target. If he gets rotated, then I think I will just get Mbeumo in my team and not worry about Rico Lewis. I don't care if he plays or not. -4 is never a good move to make. If Aston Villa's clean sheet was guaranteed, then I would have made that move even after getting a hit, but Aston Villa are not that great defensively, and honestly I am thinking about Digne purely because he is a lot more attacking player. And then I have another rotation risk player, that being Amad Diallo, but he has been solid for United. United though have Europa League coming up, but I still think Diallo is a sure starter, right? I mean, they have not scored that many goals. Most of the goals they have scored, Diallo has been involved. So yeah, I think that's the way to go. Now, talking about things to consider, don't make transfer before UCL ends. Just don't do it, because there can always be injuries that you did not account for. And even if you get players that don't even play in UCL, then there is a risk of players that do get injured. Some other players, like if Salah gets injured, then what are you going to do? Right? I mean, these kinds of things that we can't really account for. So I think late transfer is a great decision. And talking about Aston Villa's Rogers, I mean, I don't know what to make out of him. He's a great player. Whenever I see him, he's probably the best player in Aston Villa so far this season, but he just has not scored goals. Whenever he creates Sanchez, Watkins just misses all of them. So I think, yeah, if I had Rogers, then I would move on from him. But if we're talking about general, then I think he's still a good keep. Now, if you're targeting some budget midfielders, then sure, you can go for someone like Amad Diallo. Or if you don't have Smith Rowe, then he looks like a pretty solid player to me. But still, if you have Rogers and you play him every single week, then I think it's time to upgrade. And the best player that you can upgrade to is Mbeumo, like I told before. So that's the thing that you need to consider. If you add Isak and you sold him for Joao Pedro, then this is the week you can spend in other positions. And Mbeumo is the one of the best player that you can buy. Spurs have not looked that good, particularly in the defensive aspects of the game, and I think Mbeumo will get us some returns there. He is on penalties and he takes in some free other set pieces as well, so that's a great value for money player if you're targeting to get him. And then there is Rico Lewis, like I told before, who is a risk going into Arsenal game. There is a risk of Walker starting over him, and surely he's going to start, right? I mean, Arsenal are great attacking wise. Rice will be back, Odegaard will be back, so yeah, I think Arsenal will be a solid team against City, and City would not want to lose Arsenal at this point of time, because they would want to get as much further away from Arsenal as possible. And same can be said about Arsenal. They would like to win over City as soon as possible and get that jump in rank, in Premier League rank. So I think those are the things that you need to consider. And if you have Rico Lewis, then like I said before, Digne and Konza are really great players that you can get in your team. Now, thank you for tuning into the video, guys. If you enjoyed the video, then drop a like, drop a comment on your team, and I will give you an advice on what you can do to improve your team. Subscribe to the channel if you enjoyed the content, and peace. Goodbye.